Hey guys, welcome back to the Scorching Hot Takes podcast. Today we're reacting to your hot takes. Me and Max are very excited for this one because there's so many people getting involved with this. Thank you very much for leaving your hot takes.
We've been cooking up for a while and there was so many. Genuinely, we got hundreds, if not thousands.
Yeah, it's been really hard to pick. We've got a selection of about 20 today, but this will become a series, so there'll definitely be more. So keep your Scorching Hot Takes coming. First one, I know we already disagree on this one, Max. This is one from IU07. Thank you very much. A moon-shaped pool is better than the Benz. I agree with you, IU, but you don't.
No, I disagree. I think the Benz is slightly better. However, I understand why people would say a moon-shaped pool is better, so that doesn't particularly upset me. If it was saying King of Limbs is better than the Benz, then I would be more like that to the ground.
That would be hotter. See, I think
I understand it.
We had them in alternate positions when we did our Radiohead discography, didn't we?
Yeah.
So I had a moon-shaped pool one above the Benz in third place. You had it fourth with the Benz in third.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it was like we sort of said, there's like a split in terms of Radiohead fans. The earlier fans much prefer the alternative rock stuff. And they maybe argue for the Benz. And I think that's maybe more the general consensus just because of the era that Radiohead were. However, when just sort of listening to their music in the position I have, I just think a moon-shaped pool is a lot more mature. It's a lot more of a unique soundscape.
I agree. I do agree. It is more unique. It is much more refined. It's much more mature. It's just the Benz as an album is almost impossible to beat on just pure banger after banger factor.
That's true, because I mean, a moon-shaped pool is not really a banger album. Yeah. Anyway, that's fair enough.
I'm not listening to Tinker Tailor just blah, 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 blah,
for a banger. Yeah, but I'm listening to it, so love it. Anyway, I don't love this one. Nesta says that Loveless is not even a top 30 shoegaze album.
This one is... Listen up, Nesta. Stop lying. It just is. Like, that you can't say that. That's like saying Apple isn't in top 30 fruits.
Well, that's probably not the best analogy, because I mean, like, if you don't like an apple, but like, I mean, I think Loveless is like the pinnacle of shoegaze albums. There's a lot of modern shoegaze today wouldn't sound anything like it does if it weren't for Loveless. There's so many albums that I sort of listen to every week that come out from up-and-coming shoegaze bands, and they're great, but it's very reminiscent of particularly Loveless.
Yeah,
and My Bloody Valentine.
Who was that band that we were listening to the other day when we were like, this just is Loveless?
Cigarettes for Breakfast album.
Cigarettes for Breakfast.
They're really good.
They are really good. It is very much, very, very, very reminiscent of. It was like Yachty. Is it Let's Start? Let's Start Here and Dark Side of the Moon. It was the same thing as that with Loveless. But other than that, for modern shoegaze that I hear, it doesn't. A lot of like. There's like the TikTok shoegaze. I don't think a lot of it is really shoegaze, just because there's a misconception out that just because something's got distorted guitars, it doesn't make it shoegaze. But like, a lot of this stuff that's now apparently like shoegaze, like that's come out in the last couple of years and it's got massive on TikTok, like people like Wisp and stuff. Is it shoegaze? I think it's as much shoegaze as it sounds almost in between dream pop and like Deftones kind of stuff. Like I don't think it's shoegaze.
There's always going to be stuff that's on the fence. That isn't really what the point is here.
But I don't know if maybe he's. Well, I'd love to know what albums he thinks are better. But
let us know.
I have a feeling that a lot of them will be new shoegaze stuff, which I wouldn't really say is shoegaze. It's shoegaze-y, but it's not shoegaze.
Yeah. Okay. We'll move on. This one's from Ollie. And I'm not happy with this one. Rap gets too much glaze, and rappers don't require that much skill, really. They don't have to worry about their pitch, and also they tend to just use samples instead of making their own music. Let me start on this one.
Samples are instruments, I'll say that first.
Yeah, so samples already instruments. There is so much, especially in modern like trap music, for example, there's actually the majority of it is digital production. Like it's you're making music. Just because it's digital doesn't mean that it's not music. And rappers don't require that much skill. I'd actually argue that for an MC, you have to have the most skill out of any frontman because of the stress on the lyricism in hip-hop as a genre. Because when you're looking at...
Definitely, you do require a lot of skill. Claiming that you have the most talented people in music are rappers is not true.
Well, I back that, because if you look at their writing in particular, if you look at the writing... like double entendres, the storytelling, and also just in terms of word count in songs, you've got almost 10 times in every rap song.
It has to take a lot of skill, but give me an example. Kendrick is an easy example to use then for that kind of like, I agree. He is
as
absolutely...
well as so many more.
I know, but I'm just using him as one individual example. There are so many musicians out there that are more talented than him. So many.
Musicians, if you're talking instrumentally as well, because he's not.
Are you talking?
I was speaking about lyrically and songwriting and stuff like that, because he's talking about rappers here, not production.
Okay. If we're focusing purely on like voice and lyrics and delivery, then I do agree. I'm not taking away from that you do have to be very skilled, especially to be a more lyrical rapper. However, I don't think it's as easy to just compare it as just saying, oh yeah, the rappers are just the best because they have to speak faster, because you could make the same argument in saying people who are doing opera singing.
No, I agree. I'm not saying that everyone else.
Stuff. They're skill wise, I would debate opera singers are more talented than your average rapper.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying...
That's what you're saying. You just said.
What I said is I believe that they are the most talented. I'm not saying that everyone else isn't talented. I agree that opera singers are incredibly talented.
So
I was specifically talking about songwriting. Opera singing isn't the songwriting. That's exactly what I said. I said lyrically, rappers, just because of the word count and the storytelling that goes into it, often needs to be a lot more concise.
I don't think you said lyrically. I think you just said rappers are.
For an MC, you have to have the most skill out of any frontman because of the stress on the lyricism in hip hop as a genre. I think this is completely just like...
No, I don't agree with this point anyway.
It definitely requires skill. Also, a lot of rappers, if you look at like Lauryn Hill, for example, people like Drake, they're incredible singers and stuff as well. Like, they can sing as well, and you've got that diversity. It definitely requires some skill. This one's from Oliver Evenson. Lana Del Rey is the greatest solo artist of all time.
No.
Not sure how much music you've listened to, Oliver. I'm really sorry, but Lana Del Rey does not touch...
Music of the last few years, I could hear arguments for her being one of the best of the last few years. However, all time, there's no way.
I'm not even going to lie, last few years, not even like top 20.
Yeah, there's... Top 50 definitely could be debated.
That could be debated.
But top one of all time, there's no way. Lana Del Rey doesn't even touch Bowie, doesn't touch Lou Reed, doesn't touch Bob Dylan, doesn't touch Leonard Cohen.
You can list anyone, Prince, just go listen to Prince. Anyway.
Michael Jackson. Like, what was that noise?
When you've got a hot take like that, it brings new stuff out of me. Anyway, this one's from ZB. Echo and the Bunnymen are one of the best 80s bands to ever exist. Yep. I think you'd argue that they are the best.
I don't think they are the best. I think they're my favourite.
Okay. Who do you think? No, because you would say that they're the best as well. You argue.
There is other contenders that I would comfortably say they're my favourite of the 80s, but I wouldn't. It's so hard to define best. They are my best. They're my best band.
That's fair enough.
If we're talking, like, it's really hard to judge these things because you can be as subjective or objective as you want. Some people, we see it in the comments we talk about it a lot, some people are saying that we're being too subjective and that we're not being objectively correct with stuff, but then we also get people saying you can't be objective with music, it's all subjective. If you looking at it from that perspective, absolutely, I 100% agree with that. If no, I disagree with that because I think they are the best, not one of the best. But if I am being objective, realistically, there are better bass players than Les Pattinson. There are better drummers than Pete DeFreitas. There are better guitarists, especially skill-wise. He's incredible. I would argue he's one of the most creative of the 80s. But in terms of skill, and he will admit this, he has never been a particularly talented guitarist. So, like, if you're talking it based on pure skill, then
I agree with you because it's how music connects with you as a person, but then you can look at it based on sort of statistically and how they've conveyed skill while still creating bangers. Because something that I like to always bring up, this is a little bit different, but something like All Right by Kendrick.
Yeah.
Incredible. It fits the concept. Incredible rapping performance, but it is an absolute slapper still.
Yeah.
Echo and the Bunny, one of the best. They're top 20 for me of the 80s. I'd say top 20.
I think...
Which is still one of the best, so that's fair.
If I put being subjective and objective into one and I just try and look at it from all angles, I would say that I do still 100% agree with that, because as much as if you're trying to be really annoying and objective, there are technically better bands because of skill, or maybe if you're looking at it from charts and stuff like that, there are better. But how they come together and the music that they've produced, especially in the first 4 albums, 5, and even some stuff in the late 90s, I mean, that's not relevant to this anyway, but I think comfortably, I'd say they are top 5.
I'd say they're top 20 for me. There's a lot that I prefer, even in the same realm, but even then looking at bands in different genres, like looking at jazz, soul, even looking at hip hop as well. Oh, hang on, my phone is glitching. Here we go. One from Mr. AP. Hunky Dory is the best album of all time.
No, it's not.
If you look through our videos, you will understand that it's not one of our favourites. It's also not even the best Bowie album.
That's what I was about to say. I could go off and list dozens of albums that are better than Hunky Dory, but I could name it.
Keep it in-house.
I'd say comfortably, I think Low is my favourite Bowie album.
Yes, I agree. Low is better.
I think that would be my number one. What else is
Ziggy Stardust?
Ziggy Stardust, I think, is better.
It's probably top 5.
Yeah, I think
but
so.
But that already is. It's not the best album of all time. So I think we're done with this one.
Yeah.
Another quick one. Rowan Gray said, "Music isn't music nowadays." Okay. Hamish says Fontaine's DC are the best Irish band of all time because the Cranberries are only notable due to their political views. I think this is just a Cranberries hater right here.
Zombie is a political song, obviously, but a lot of stuff on Cranberry stuff, it's just a lot of them are just love songs.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not political at all, and incredible band. But Fontaine's, as much as I'm a big Fontaine's fan, they are not the best Irish band of all time. I think My Bloody Valentine are Irish. In fact, I think they are. No, they are. They are.
I'm not too sure, actually.
My Bloody Valentine are better. Sinead O'Connor. Oh, it's band, though, innit?
Yeah.
The Pogues are better. There is plenty. There is so much Irish stuff. Thin Lizzy are Irish. Fontaine's.
Of our generation, they're probably the most prominent, especially in our music sphere in the UK.
All time.
But all time though is craziness. Dylan says that the Doors are the most overrated band of all time, and Jim Morrison is an awful lyricist. Over to you, Max. There we go.
Read all of this and then try and say that again, because you will just realise that you're wrong. I mean, about the writer part. If you don't like the Doors' music, that's fine. Maybe it doesn't click with you, but it's genuinely impossible to deny that he is an incredible writer. And I'm not even going to entertain that anymore because I'll genuinely start getting annoyed.
I'll just say, most overrated band of all time. I don't even think that you must believe that, because as much as they get a lot of praise, there's the quality to back up a certain degree of praise. It's not like they're absolutely shocking and up there. Like they warrant to be one of the best of all time.
I can only accept someone saying that these people are the most overrated band of all time if the recognition that they get is absolutely undeserved based on how good they are as a band.
Yeah.
Yes, the Doors get a lot of recognition, but undeniably, they are talented in their own roles, especially Ray Manzarek. He is genuinely one of the most underrated musicians of all time, in my opinion.
That is valid.
We'll
move on.
Yeah.
Ellie Matt says that post-rock and shoegaze are some of the most overrated genres ever and are the worst for music snobs. We spoke about this just off camera a little bit. I'll go.
Okay.
I think... See, there's music snobs in all genres. That's my thing. So I don't think saying that they're the worst for music snobs is fair, because as much as you might see a lot of it on TikTok, which is sort of something you were referring to already, a lot of shoegaze aesthetics and stuff are very much online nowadays, and they're sort of genres that are a bit quirky. They're a little bit out of the norm. So I think people maybe do like to associate with it aesthetically and appreciate
What's these exact words again?
Some of the most overrated genres and worst for music snobs. So I was just talking about music snobs there, because I think maybe some people do try and associate with it to be a little bit edgy. However, overrated, absolutely not.
I think, in particular, focusing on post-rock, overrated, I don't think so, because I think post-rock is one of the most impressive genres.
I'm arguing underrated. Post-rock is underrated. Yeah, there's so much great post-rock music that's not reached the heights that your classic
music snobs, I do agree. Post-rock does attract a lot of music snobs, but that's only because music snobs are going to be more likely to listen to something that's more difficult to listen to, because they're more into... If you're more inclined to get into music and give it time, you are going to like post-rock more than someone who likes to stick a song on and it's easy and catchy.
Yeah, but...
That's just how it is. With the shoegaze one, though, I don't think shoegaze is overrated, but I think people, it's back to what I said before. I don't think a lot of stuff that is being classed as shoegaze now is actually shoegaze. I think it's one of them things where it's trying to replicate. Shoegaze isn't just a style. Shoegaze was like a time. It's like when people make Britpop stuff now.
Yeah,
it's
I know
not
what you mean.
Britpop because it's a cultural thing as well. Like it's definitely influenced by shoegaze. It's shoegazy stuff, but there's much more coming into it. I don't think it's either. I don't think it's necessarily music snobs or it's the genre's overrated. I think it's misunderstood and maybe overhyped.
Misunderstood's a good word, and I think that's what I was saying. I think it's overhyped, but not overrated because people aren't necessarily associating with it and saying that they're a fan of it and sort of making their style revolve around this shoegaze aesthetic that I keep saying because they actually love the music. They kind of like it a bit more because it's edgy. So I think it's overhyped but not overrated because it's not had the commercial success, especially like in the 90s. It wasn't the dominant genre.
No, because by the time it came in, it was kind of the thing of like the late 80s alternative rock scene, especially here with Creation Records and stuff, with bands like My Bloody Valentine coming to the forefront.
Yeah.
There was kind of a couple of years of kind of between 88 and 1990 where it looked like shoegaze was going to be the thing. Because even Blur, they started as a shoegaze band. The first album is very shoegazy. However, it was then 1990 Loveless came out, and then straight away, before it had time to brew into the biggest genre that it was going to be, grunge came in. And Britpop came in, so it just didn't have time to flourish.
Grunge alternative rock was dominant.
That's why Slowdive were not as successful as they could have been at the time because they were just slightly too late.
Yeah, but I do quite like that there has been a resurgence around shoegaze.
I do as well.
I love it, and also I think post rock's really cool as well. And it's actually something that I want to get into a bit more. I need to do some more diving because there's so much great stuff out there.
Yeah, you need to do more Swans.
Okay. Swans is an interesting one. So now we're on to some ones from Instagram. We've got Felix Drew saying that the Smiths are one of the most overrated bands in history. Sure, there's a few catchy songs and the overall sound of the band is good, but Morrissey has such a jarring voice to listen to and his songwriting feels very pretentious to me. I completely agree with the Morrissey hit. I think he lets the band down.
I understand. I understand if Morrissey's voice isn't your thing, and also if Morrissey's not your thing and you're struggling to separate the art from the artist, completely fine. But for me, that means that statement should be Morrissey is overrated, not the Smiths are overrated, because Johnny Marr, Andy Rourke and Mike Joyce are not overrated in any way.
That's
if
fair.
anything, underappreciated because Morrissey looms over them with a gloomy poo stain on the band.
That's the thing. I also agree his songwriting is very pretentious. That's a lot of the time I'm just sort of like cringing and I'm just a bit like, like,
I don't think it's pretentious. I think it's just honest in his own kind of. Yeah. He's witty and also a bit cringy.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's a bit cringe. I feel like it's in his own world a bit.
I don't think it's pretentious because he's not pretending. That is just actually how he is. It's like some people thought that Geordie Greep stuff on the new sound was a bit pretentious, but that is just obviously the songwriting's from the perspective of a character.
Yeah, that's a bit more theatrical.
But the same with a lot of Smith stuff. A lot of Smith stuff is from Morrissey's perspective. A lot of stuff is from characters' perspectives.
That's fair.
But I don't think it's pretentious because it's not forced. That is genuinely just how he is because he's always been the same.
Pretentious isn't the right word. However, I do agree. I dislike his songwriting in a lot of places. A lot of times it is a bit of a letdown factor on that front. Anyway, here we've got one from Zack Harvey, 70s over 90s. I think we both agree with this one, don't we?
Yeah, I agree.
I think
there is some quality stuff in there. Thing is with the 90s, it's very easy to... I could just cut it in half. Early 90s, there was some great stuff. I'm not that bothered about much from the late 90s. Whereas 70s...
Yeah, I am. Like hip-hop throughout the whole 90s was dominant.
Yeah,
like you've got some of the best
I'm not that fussed.
Yeah.
But late 90s Radiohead is the main standout.
Yeah, that's
other than that, I can't really think of much else that I'm bothered about from the late 90s. Whereas 70s, there is stuff from every year that I'm very much bothered about.
Yeah, like if I'm going 70s...
That's a fairly comfortable one for me.
For me as well, like 70s, as much as the music that I've grown up listening to is mainly from like the 2010s and stuff, now sort of that I'm getting into music more and having explored from those decades before, I think 70s is my favourite.
Yeah.
Because in there you've got like prog rock in its prime. I love concept albums. I think they're really interesting. That's the peak of that.
Yeah.
Best sort of soul music in that era as well, like Marvin Gaye's What's Going On.
Yeah.
There's so much. And then you've got like punk, post-punk, and also 70s flourished so many genres, as well as the 80s, but I think of the genres that I like the most.
Yeah.
70s was definitely better than the 90s for me. And I do agree, early 90s is much better.
Yeah.
Oliver Evans says that the Doors are the best band or artist America has ever produced. Band, top 5 for me.
Definitely
artist,
top 5.
No.
I'd say, yeah, top 5. I think Velvet Underground's number 1.
For band, that's fair for you. Like, that makes sense.
Yeah. No, but I think
I prefer the Doors to the Velvet Underground, just in terms of,
really?
Like,
I didn't know
what I replay them as much as like I do appreciate the Velvet Underground, I actually don't revisit it all that much. And you know that.
Yeah, we were
another one that I genuinely, in terms of replay value, absolutely love. Talking Heads is a personal favourite for an American band. Like, they're one of up there, like top 5 of my personal favourite bands of all time. I just think they're so fun.
If it's a top 5 bands and artists,
Bob
Dylan's got to be in there over the Doors, especially just importance, especially.
But we're both not massive on Bob Dylan.
Yeah, but he's talking the best. Bob Dylan is absolutely one of.
But this links back to your thing earlier. Like,
I really like Bob Dylan.
I thought you didn't like his voice that much.
I don't think he's a great singer, but I still like his music a lot.
That's fair. If we're bringing artists in, like, I mean, again, I always bring this up. My hip hop bias comes in, but this is sort of, you kind of got the hint of this earlier. I think there's a lot better artists.
Yeah.
That are from America. Like,
the Doors are definitely
in the hip hop realm.
Absolutely. Top 3 bands for me.
Yeah,
and if you're doing bands and artists, then probably top 5. I'd put a couple.
I wonder where I put them. Nah, I'm sorry. Like, it's really hard. They're definitely like top 25 for me. But you have to know, you have to know though that I'm not massive on the Doors as well.
I know.
So that shouldn't come as too much of a shock.
No, but I think that's harsh.
Maybe so. But don't get me wrong, saying the top 25 from America, which has the biggest music economy, like.
Yeah, next one.
There's a lot to go from. Here we've got one from. I'm gonna mess up your name. I'm really sorry. Alessandro Colastili.
Do you want me to do it?
No,
please let me do it.
No, shut up, because you're gonna make me look silly, and I don't want to do
an
that.
accent. Okay. Then it'll sound okay.
Shut up. Colin Greenwood is the best member of Radiohead. Underrated.
Absolutely,
I agree, but
yes.
Best Johnny Greenwood's better.
Greenwood.
I also Tom York is actually better as well. I think. Like,
yeah, because his songwriting is incredible.
Vocal delivery as well.
Potentially best songwriter of the 90s.
What do we think? Yeah, definitely. In fact, for me, like
Colin Greenwood, though, I do agree.
Oh no, Jeff Buckley is actually even just off that one. I think
that's fair. He's definitely a contender.
But I think just because of the extended catalogue that radio were able to develop in that time period, I think that's fair.
But Colin Greenwood does have some absolutely. I think he shines especially on OK Computer, even though it's not my favourite album. Airbag's a really good example. He's got so much funk about him, and he manages to, especially a song like Airbag, I can't imagine like being, this needs some funk, but like, he has got some great, just,
the bass.
Some people just have that like soul in them to be able to just get the right bass line, and he's just got it.
But throughout that whole catalogue as well, looking on like In Rainbows, Jigsaw Falling Into Place and stuff like that, the bass lines are absolutely incredible all time. Another one I like, Full Stop.
Yeah.
He's just got a way he can create really good sort of slow tempo and intimate, like moving bass lines, but also like he is not afraid to make a song a banger.
That just reminds me of when it was on the day when I went to see Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds in Leeds, and Colin Greenwood was playing bass with them on the tour, and it was Black Country New Road to Support, and I went into Waterstones that morning, and Radiohead had that. Colin Greenwood published that book, and it was like of recording process behind these, and I walked in, I didn't know he was there, and I just ate out loud in an empty Waterstones went, "That's Colin fucking Greenwood."
He's definitely
he literally went I was too nervous to go to after that. I said, I just lost all my aura. I just walked out.
Oh yeah, I can't believe you didn't go. Like, that's a dream meetup.
No, because there was a queue.
Bruh, a queue in a Waterstones, it can't have been that big.
I didn't want a queue only to get there and him go, "You're happy to see me?"
I would. It's Colin fucking Greenwood.
I saw him.
Okay, I'd love to meet him. Anyway, we've got one from Sam Croo now. albums were better when their length was limited by how much music you could fit onto a 12-inch LP. Most albums around the 50-minute to 1 hour mark would be improved if they were forced to be cut down to 45 minutes.
I don't agree that music... Well, I do prefer... most of my music that is my favourite is older. However, the reason that the more current music isn't my favourite, I don't think most of the time is to do with the fact that music had to be was able to be extended because of that. And also, the fact that music could be longer has allowed us to have some absolutely incredible albums that because they don't have to worry about fitting it on the disc and everything. So it's kind of a two-sided coin. Yes, music, in my opinion, has slightly dwindled over time for the most part.
I disagree, but...
I know you do. However, I don't think it's got worse. It's just my favourite stuff is older.
That's fair.
But I don't think it's... No,
but it's not because of length, though. Like you're saying, it's not duration of the albums, necessarily.
There is a lot of stuff that I don't like because it's too long, but that's not necessarily always... That's more genre. Like, I don't like a lot of rap albums because of how long they are. Some of my favourite rap stuff of the last few years, like Bad Cameo, that is a great length. For an album for me.
Yeah, that's not the best rap album.
No, but that's just the first one that comes to mind length-wise.
It is very concise, and I think I agree that albums around 45 minutes. I'd even say 40 minutes. We've said this in a short before, but 40 minutes is the perfect length for an album. Mm-hmm. I think that's really good because it allows you to explore enough avenues to get the amount of diversity in, explore a range of songwriting styles, have a range of production going on. However, but also it doesn't get stale and tiresome. Like, it allows it to be in its full capacity and really high quality.
This is why I say it completely depends on the genre. Overall, on average, I'd say 40, 45 minutes is about right. Yeah. However, what we were talking about before, post-rock, I wouldn't want a 40-minute post-rock album. I want an hour and a half minimum.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And also, I would say some sort of like rap albums, I know I do agree, especially in like, even though I love trap, there is no reason that an album where it's kind of a copy and paste formula should be above an hour long. However, something like a To Pimp a Butterfly, Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick, where you need all them tracks to tell the story and for it to be in full effect. Yeah. I don't think, because the words here is, it was better when the artists were limited by how much music they could fit onto an LP.
Being limited is...
disagree because it
and
does
also
limit...
That just sounds things. Bad. Why would being limited in any way ever be a good thing for an art?
Exactly. Oh, yeah, put that on a t-shirt.
We say that every video.
Yeah, I know, that's the only reason I said it. Disco Volunteer Joya, 1995. There is not a single rap or hip-hop album that can be fairly compared to an album from any other genre, as hip-hop genre has no amazing albums.
Oh, see, at first I was almost going a bit, I can see your point, because it's rap especially is a very hard thing to compare to some other stuff, because it's a really standalone genre.
Not because there's no amazing albums, though.
Yeah, that kind of threw me off a little. That was an eyebrow raiser.
I'm not even giving that one the time of day, unfortunately.
I think people who say that, you don't actually think that. If you genuinely dug through, you would find something that you liked. And even if you didn't, that's not because it's bad. It's just because you don't like. It's just because you can't absorb it.
Yeah, like I think saying that there's no amazing albums, it's like how much have you actually listened to? Yeah, like, go and listen to the classics. Go listen to Illmatic. Go listen to something like Wu-Tang if you want to look at the golden era. There's so many angles
to go at it for.
And it's such a broad genre.
If you're under 50 years old, I find it hard to believe that there isn't a single rap album out there that you would love. 50 plus, maybe it's just too not your time. But even like if you're in your 40s, there will definitely be some stuff that, especially, maybe it's not stuff now, but if you were never really into rap in the 90s, maybe it'd be a good thing to go and reflect on now and look back on and think, actually, I really like this.
Yeah, I think it would definitely be good. And because it's such a broad genre as well. Like, there's so many different avenues you could go down. I don't think you can just box it in to just being one sound that you don't like.
It's not even just, there's going to be at least one album you like. There will be, if you genuinely listen to a wide range of what comes under hip-hop, there will be loads of different stuff that you like, probably, but there will be at least one that you love. Like, it's actually impossible because it's so broad.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. No amazing albums. Absolutely insane. I could have like at least 100 amazing rap albums, at least. Patrick John says that Atmosphere is better than Love Will Tear Us Apart. We've had a conversation about this.
I think I agree.
I think it depends what you go to the songs for. They're very different.
Love Will Tear Us Apart, if we're looking at them as just standalone pieces, it's genuinely one of the most catchy songs of all time. So it is especially for the time, the perfect pop song.
I agree. But it's still timeless today. Like, I still love it when it comes on now. Whereas I don't know if it depends on the setting though.
Well,
as well.
it's timeless at the same time as being of its time. Like, you can tell when it's from, but that doesn't hold it back in any way.
That's what I'm saying. I agree.
Whereas Atmosphere, I think, is genuinely timeless, planetless, existenceless. Like, that song could be that could be from Mars. It could be from Antarctica in 500 years. Instrumentally, I just think it's one of the most beautiful songs ever made. And what it means as well. I just think it's so emotional. It's such a powerful song. Love Will Tear Us Apart isn't as much of a powerful song. It's still got a lot of meaning behind it with Ian and Debbie and the affair with Annika Nora and everything, but Atmosphere, in terms of what it means, is just such an impactful song.
I think it's fair. Like, it depends what you go to it for. I'm much more likely, because I'm not the biggest Joy Division fan, to enjoy Love Will Tear Us Apart because it's a banger, and I like their more up-tempo songs like a Disorder, a Shadow Play, an Interzone, a Love Will Tear Us Apart. So it's more my sort of taste when I go to a Joy Division. It's what I want to get out of it. So I think, fair. And also Love Will Tear Us Apart, like I sort of said, whenever it comes on, it's just great.
Yeah, I'm just a massive Joy Division and a massive Ian Curtis fan anyway. So as soon as Atmosphere comes on, I'll just start crying.
Jake Walker, I'm a fan of you. Queen are the most overrated band of all time. I agree.
They're not the most overrated.
Okay, not the most.
But I do think they are overrated.
Well, actually, though, because of the commercial success that they got, I don't think they're that deserving of it.
No, I do still, because I do think as individual musicians, the band are very good. Brian May is undeniably an incredible guitarist. John Deacon's the bass player. I think so. John Deacon, great bass player. Freddie Mercury, I think he does have a good voice. It just doesn't all come together as something that, for me, I'm like, this is great. I want to listen to music and it just overflow me and just infect me and I can't stop listening to it. And it's just like, this is incredible. When I listen to Queen, I'm like, I feel like it sounds like it's trying to do that, but it just doesn't get there for me. Bohemian Rhapsody is the perfect example. That, in theory, should, and many people do consider it to just be an absolute masterpiece. But for me, when I listen to that, I think this was trying to be a masterpiece, but it's just not got it. I don't know what it is that it's just not got, but it doesn't click with me. I think for all their stuff, and it just comes for sort of like arena rock in general, it's trying to be like way bigger than it actually needs to be. It's like it's doing way too much. Something like Bohemian Rhapsody, as much as it like I don't really enjoy the song. Like I've said it before. Neither.
But like it's more of like a theatrical piece, and I get that if that's what appeals to you, that's fair enough. But I think there's a lot of other sort of theatrical music. Like I love concept albums and stuff that are very much more enjoyable, because this just seems like over the top and like just blown out of proportion.
My thing is, I do think, and I understand, as much as most of them don't click with me, Queen undeniably have hits. Another one, Bites the Dust, We Are the Champions, whatever. But the thing is, even if you're considering, this is how many hits they've got on everything, they have so many hits, but for me, most of the albums, most of the songs on each of them, genuinely never even like heard of them unless you go to listen to the album.
They're also not an albums band either, that's the thing.
I will say, I think their best piece of work is Under Pressure with Bowie. That is a good song, undeniably, I think. But other than that, I'm just genuinely not bothered. I don't think most are overrated of all time. I think there is more.
Yeah, I think I was
genuinely put Guns N' Roses worse than Queen.
Yeah, same actually. But like I was hot-headed because I do agree. I think they're really overrated, but most overrated. It's kind of what we were saying with the Doors. How can you be the most overrated when you've actually got a lot of talent and the stats to back it? Like it's next one we've got from Eddie, drummer from Senor Pink. Thank you very much for getting involved, Eddie. If you haven't listened to Senor Pink, go check them out. They're great. And Eddie's a pretty decent drummer. He says the Cure are better than the Smiths. And I absolutely agree.
I do agree.
I will say, because we've spoke about this as well. We spoke about a lot of this stuff. That I think the Smiths maybe have higher highs, but the Cure...
No, I don't think so. No,
really?
No. The Cure's highs are higher than the Smiths' highs. But I think the Cure... Maybe
like a handful of highs.
I think the Cure have more lows. Like there's some stuff in the
That's what I was about to say. Like, you cut me off. That's what I was about to say.
Like the Top. I don't think that's an incredible... I don't think
that's what I was going to say.
Album.
I think the Smiths might have higher highs, but then also like the most like middle of the road stuff. Whereas then The Cure has a really good like upper above average thing, and then a few more lows.
I think The Cure have stuff up here and down here. The Smiths kind of have stuff here, but only go down that far. Like the standard is very consistent with the Smiths, I think.
That's what I was trying to say. I think they do actually have like a handful of the highest highs. Like Barbarism Begins at Home is like a personal favourite, like in our friendship.
Yeah.
That we love that song. That is like top 3 of songs between all of the bands.
My least favourite Smith song might actually be Meat Is Murder.
That's fair.
Because it's just like...
Yeah.
Okay. That should have been left off the album. Such a boring outro.
Yeah. But I think... But then I'd also say, in terms of looking at albums, I think Disintegration is the best album between all of them, for me.
It definitely could be. I'd need to think about it more and level them up. We should do a Cure discography ranking in top 10 songs. That'd be a good one to do.
Well, and the Smiths. And we can almost then, after doing both, do a collaborative one and rank their discographies intertwined.
That's a good shout.
Anyway, thanks for that.
But I do think The Cure as well, because of range of stuff. You've got...
Houston, we have a problem.
Hey guys, sorry for the jump scare. Unfortunately, at this moment in the recording, Max's camera died. I bet you're all thinking, oh no, we can't look at his gorgeous face anymore. Well, don't worry, I've stuck a picture in of his beautiful face for the last few minutes of the video. Enjoy the rest.
3 Imaginary Boys if you want the punky stuff. You've got the early 80s stuff, Faith, 17 Seconds Pornography if you want the more gothic stuff. You've got the mid 80s stuff if you want poppy stuff. You've got the late 80s Disintegration and early 90s albums like Wish, which just have what's Just Like Heaven on? Is it called Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me?
Something like that,
Something like that. Late 80s, early 90s, when they blended their ability to write pop songs and their ability to create dark atmospheres and made it one. That is at the artistic peak. The Smiths didn't have that same journey. They had still made progression over time in many ways, but I think they're much more consistent in style, whereas The Cure went on a stylistic journey in every direction throughout their career.
Brilliant. This is our last one now from History Music or History Music. So much of Kendrick Lamar's work is too overrated. Lyrically, he's phenomenal. Production-wise, garbage. I wish he had better sounding songs and production behind him that would make him so much better. I completely disagree. To Pimp a Butterfly,
I didn't expect that, yeah.
To Pimp a Butterfly is genuinely one of the best produced rap albums of all time.
Most people that I feel like aren't quite sure on hip hop, or people like Kendrick, they will appreciate instrumentals, but they don't like rap. So that surprises me that someone could like him lyrically, but doesn't like the production.
I'd actually say that people would appreciate normally production and then definitely lyricism, songwriting, but don't like him as a vocal deliverer because he.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Like he is sometimes a bit like eccentric with it and can come across a little bit goofy. However, just how can To Pimp a Butterfly be a badly produced album? You've got some of the best jazz musicians on there. You've got Pharrell on there. Like, it is absolutely stacked. Like, Thundercat, like, come on.
Of the last 10 years, T-Pap is genuinely a contender for production-wise and one of the best albums, definitely.
Yeah, well, I think it's
favourite,
like...
we've spoken about it before, I can never get over the guitar on that song.
Well, it's the whole thing. Like, I think the album is absolutely perfect, and when I look at a perfect album, the production has to be absolutely flawless, start to finish. Like the For Free interludes, genuinely is just a jazz onslaught. Like it's incredible, and I mean, again, like he's appreciating his lyricism here, but I don't think his lyricism would be as strong if the production didn't just like back it up.
I absolutely agree. He's got so much power in so many of his songs because of the instrumentals. His vocals isolated, he's not got a very powerful voice a lot of the time, I don't feel. So he needs to have, and he does it a lot through the percussion. That's what stands out to me on a lot of Kendrick stuff. His percussion is always really stomping.
Yeah. But also you've got such a range between his albums, like G and X that came out last year. As much as it's not as well produced as something like To Pimp a Butterfly, that wasn't the attempt with it. It was a throwback to the Bay Area sound on a West Coast victory lap after his win against Drake in the rap beef, just as a celebratory album. But it is like Squabble Up, incredible production on that. Whacked Out Murals, incredible production. TV Off, incredible. Lufa, it's literally charting like crazy right now. That beat is absolutely gorgeous. I could go through the whole track list. The production is still second to none on there. Not touching the same heights as the T-Pap and not even the best produced album of the 2020s. But to say that his production's what lets him down, I disagree massively.
I don't understand that, but
And also the thing that goes into production is the fact that he managed to like tell the story of Damn from start to finish, but the actual story can be told in reverse. That comes under production. Like the fact that the pacing of the album works backwards. That's mind blowing.
Is that not writing though? Because that's like structure. That's not really production.
No, but that's production, like though, because the instrumentation that goes into that,
fair,
has to flow backwards as well.
I suppose it's definitely a mixture of all parts of the creative process, which production is very important for,
especially in hip hop, and especially for someone like Kendrick. His production is absolutely phenomenal. But I think that'll bring us to the end.
Yeah, are we done?
Yeah, but to be fair, I think we've had some good discussions there. That was really fun.
Thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. If you want another one of these videos, or you want them to be a regular thing, keep the hot takes coming. And we'll definitely get on, make sure we keep doing them. If there's any, what we'll do is, if you see a hot take that you really want us to react to, make sure you like it so it gets to the top of the comments, and we'll make sure that we address those questions for you. And
definitely. And also, if any of you are watching and your hot takes were featured today, let us know what you thought of our responses, and if we're even hotter. Pause. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you soon.
Bye.